I was working at a visitor centre in the Scottish Highlands. An American couple approached my desk, looking very concerned. The husband asked, "We've been driving for hours and we haven't seen a single Taco Bell or McDonald's. Where do you guys eat?" I started listing off local pubs and restaurants known for fresh seafood and traditional Scottish fare. He cut me off. "No, I mean, where's the real food? It's like this whole area is a food desert. It's a major safety issue if you can't get a reliable meal on the road." He genuinely believed the lack of American fast food chains was a public safety hazard. My cousin is a chef in a high-end restaurant in Bologna, Italy, famous for its traditional cuisine. An American family came in and the father asked if they could get spaghetti and meatballs for his son. My cousin politely explained that spaghetti and meatballs is not a traditional Italian dish. The man got very defensive. "What are you talking about? I've been eating it my whole life at Italian restaurants in New Jersey. Are you saying they're all liars? Just put the meatballs in the spaghetti, it's not that hard." He couldn't grasp that the American-Italian version of his favourite food didn't actually originate there. I was a park ranger in Banff National Park, Canada. I was leading a talk on bear safety. An American tourist raised his hand and asked, "At what time do you let the bears out of their cages to roam the park?" "We want to make sure we're here for that." I had to pause and explain that the thousands of grizzly and black bears were in fact wild animals and we did not keep them in cages. He looked incredibly disappointed, as if he'd been promised a zoo-like spectacle. He then asked, "Well, can you at least tell us where they usually hang out? Is there a schedule?" While studying in Japan, an American in my program tried to haggle with a cashier at a 7-Eleven over the price of a rice ball. The cashier was utterly bewildered. The American insisted, "Come on, I'm buying 3 of them. You can give me a discount." That's how business works. You reward the big spenders. The line grew behind him as he tried to explain the concept of bulk discount to the poor cashier, who just kept bowing and repeating the total price. He eventually paid, shaking his head and muttering about their inflexible business model. I was on a train from Paris to Amsterdam. An American student was talking loudly on her phone to her mum. "The culture here is so weird. They serve you tiny little coffees and they expect you to just sit there for an hour. And the bread is so hard. I almost broke a tooth on a baguette. I can't wait to get home and have some soft, normal Wonder Bread. I don't know how these people live like this. It's like they're actively trying to make everything inconvenient." A friend of mine works at the Guinness Storehouse in Dublin. He was leading a tasting session when an American tourist asked if they could add a shot of vanilla syrup to his pint. My friend politely declined, explaining it would ruin the flavour profile. The tourist got annoyed. "Look, I'm the customer. I get my Guinness with vanilla back home all the time. It's a Guinness Blonde. You guys should really learn from the American branches about how to innovate. You're stuck in the past." I overheard an American couple arguing at the base of the Eiffel Tower. The wife wanted to go up, but the husband refused. His reasoning? "Why would I pay to climb a giant radio antenna? We have bigger ones in America. The Sears Tower is way taller and it's like a real building with offices. This is just a tourist trap with no practical purpose. It's a perfect example of European inefficiency. All style, no substance." I was working in a hotel in Iceland during the winter. A guest from California called the front desk at 2 a.m. in a complete panic. "My heater is broken. It's blowing cold air into my room." I went up to check and found that he had set the thermostat to 60 degrees, to 16 degrees. The room was already warmer than that because of the geothermal heating. The system was blowing in cooler, fresh air to bring the temperature down to his setting. I explained this to him, and he said, "So you're telling me I can't make it hotter? What kind of backwards country has heating that you can't even control?" An American businessman was in my taxi in London. He saw the massive congestion charge signs and asked me what they were. I explained it was a fee for driving in the city centre to reduce traffic and pollution. He laughed. You guys have to pay to drive on your own roads. That's hilarious. That's a violation of freedom. In America, the road is a symbol of liberty. We'd have another revolution before we let the government charge us just to drive to work. At a beautiful quiet onsen, hot spring, in rural Japan, the rules of silence and etiquette were clearly posted. An American family came in and immediately started acting like they were at a public pool. The father was cannonballing into the water, and the kids were splashing and yelling. An elderly Japanese man tried to politely shush them. The American father responded, "Hey, we're on vacation. We're here to have fun, not sit around like monks. Lighten up, old-timer." They completely shattered the serene, meditative atmosphere for everyone. I was on a tour of the ancient city of Ephesus in Turkey. An American woman asked the guide, "This is all very interesting, but where are the gift shops and the Starbucks?" The guide explained that it was an active archaeological site and a protected UNESCO World Heritage location. She looked genuinely annoyed. "Well, that's a missed opportunity. You could make a fortune here. A little bit of American capitalism would really spruce this place up. Imagine a Caesar's Palace-themed casino right over there." My sister, a doctor in the UK's NHS, once treated an American tourist who had a minor allergic reaction. After being treated and given medication completely free of charge, the tourist asked for an itemised bill. My sister explained the NHS is free at the point of use. The American was suspicious. "Nothing is free," he said. "What's the catch? Are you going to send me a surprise bill in a few months? I know how socialised medicine works. It's a scam to lure you in." He left, convinced he was going to be a victim of international medical fraud. An American student in my German class in Berlin insisted on paying for his half of a group dinner down to the exact cent. When we all just rounded and split the bill evenly, he got agitated. "No, I only had one beer and you had two, and my schnitzel was €2 cheaper than your bratwurst platter. It's the principle of the thing." We spent 10 minutes while he used his phone calculator to figure out everyone's exact share. He couldn't understand the communal concept of just splitting a bill for simplicity. I was working in a bookstore in Hay-on-Wye, the famous town of books in Wales. An American tourist came in and asked, "Do you have this book on Kindle?" I said, "No, we only sell physical books." He replied, "Why would anyone buy a physical book? They're heavy, they take up space, and you can't even search the text. It's such an obsolete technology. You guys should really get with the 21st century." He said this while surrounded by thousands of beautiful historic books. Overheard on a bus in New Zealand's South Island, an American teenager was complaining to his parents, "This is so boring. It's just a bunch of mountains and sheep. It looks exactly like the screensavers on my computer. Can we go somewhere with, like, a mall or a water park? There's literally nothing to do here." They were driving through one of the most breathtaking landscapes on the entire planet. An American was visiting my family's vineyard in the south of France. After the wine tasting, he pulled my father aside and offered some friendly advice. He said, "Your wine is pretty good, but you're missing a huge market. You should make a sweet, fruity version, maybe a white Zinfandel. That's what people really want. You have to cater to the American palate if you want to be successful." My family has been making wine on that land for over 200 years. I was at a public beach in Rio de Janeiro. An American woman was loudly complaining to her husband, "I can't believe how many people are here. It's so crowded. And why are they all so loud?" She was saying this on Ipanema Beach on a Sunday afternoon, one of the most famously vibrant and crowded public spaces in the world. In the States, we have private beaches where you don't have to deal with all this chaos. A tourist in Norway was on a fjord cruise. He asked the guide, "So who carved these? Was it the Vikings? The craftsmanship is incredible." The guide was speechless for a moment, before explaining that the fjords were carved by glaciers over millions of years. The man looked skeptical. A glacier did this. I don't know. It looks too perfect. I think it was probably the Vikings. They were amazing engineers. I was working at a hotel in Madrid when an American guest complained that her room didn't have a clothes dryer. I explained that it's common in Spain to hang dry clothes on a line. She was horrified. You expect me to hang my underwear outside for everyone to see? That's so primitive and unsanitary. What if a bird poops on it? I need a machine that uses heat to kill the germs, like we have in America. An American in a pub in Manchester, England, tried to order a black and tan. The bartender, whose family was from Ireland, gave him a cold stare and said, "We don't serve that here." The American was confused. Why not? It's a classic beer drink. The bartender then had to give him a history lesson on the brutal history of the black and tans in Ireland and why ordering that drink by that name is deeply offensive to many. The American just said, "Wow, you guys are way too sensitive about history." At a market in Seoul, South Korea, an American tourist saw an elderly woman selling kimchi. He went up to her and said, "You know, you should really be wearing gloves. It's not very sanitary to handle food with your bare hands. In the US, the health department would shut you down for that." He was lecturing a woman who had likely been making kimchi perfectly safely for over 60 years. I was on a flight to Cairo. The American man next to me was looking at a map. He turned to me and asked, "So, is Egypt in the Middle East or is it in Africa?" It's very confusing. They should just pick one. I explained that it's in North Africa and is also a part of the Middle East. He shook his head. That's not helpful. It needs to be one or the other. It's bad branding. A young American couple was visiting the Vatican. The woman was stopped by the guards because her shoulders were bare and her shorts were too short, violating the modest dress code. She threw a fit. This is religious discrimination. You are shaming me for my body. In America, I have the right to wear whatever I want. My comfort is more important than your outdated rules. She seemed to think her personal rights superseded the rules of a sovereign city-state. I was working at a bike rental shop in Amsterdam. An American tourist came back after 30 minutes, furious. "These bikes are broken. There are no brakes." I had to show him how to use the coaster brakes, pedalling backward, which are common on Dutch city bikes. He was unconvinced. This is a huge safety flaw. Why would you design a bike without handbrakes? Someone could get killed. I'm going to report you to the Better Business Bureau. An American was in a restaurant in Lisbon, Portugal. He was amazed by the fresh seafood. He called the waiter over and said, "This is the best fish I've ever had. You guys should franchise this." You could open one of these in every major city in the US and make a killing. I have some contacts in venture capital if you're interested in scaling up. The waiter just smiled and said, "Sir, the fish is fresh because the ocean is right there. It would not be the same in Ohio." At a performance of a traditional Aboriginal dance in Australia, an American in the audience was filming on his phone with the flash on. An usher came and quietly asked him to turn it off. The American replied, "How else am I supposed to get a good video? I'm documenting this for my followers. It's free publicity for you guys." He genuinely believed his social media presence was more important than the sacredness of the performance or the comfort of the performers. I was in a pharmacy in Paris trying to buy some cold medicine. An American woman in front of me was trying to buy antibiotics over the counter. The pharmacist explained she needed a prescription from a doctor. The woman said, "I don't have time for that. I know what I need. Just sell me the amoxicillin. In America, the customer is always right." The pharmacist just kept repeating, "Non, ce n'est pas possible." A tourist was looking at the Bayeux Tapestry, which depicts the Norman conquest of England in 1066. He asked the museum docent, "So this is all about the British invading France, right?" The docent patiently explained it was the other way around. The American shook his head and said, "No, that doesn't sound right. The British were the big empire. They did the invading. I think your history is a little mixed up here." An American was staying at a small family-run guest house in the Greek islands. He complained to the owner that there was no 24-hour room service. "What if I want a cheeseburger at 3 a.m.?" he asked. The owner, a 70-year-old woman named Eleni, just stared at him. "My kitchen is closed," she said. He replied, "Well, that's not good enough. A proper hotel has round-the-clock service. You need to up your game if you want to compete globally." I was on a safari in Tanzania. We were watching a pride of lions from a safe distance. A woman from the US asked the guide, "Can we get out and pet one? They look so sleepy and cute." The guide, thinking she was joking, chuckled. She was not. "I'm serious," she said. "I'm great with cats. I just want one picture." The guide had to sternly explain that they were wild predators that would kill her without a second thought. She sulked for the rest of the trip.